Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Be My Guest. I'm your host, Eric Guest. In this episode today, we'll be talking about something that I think we all struggle with this at times, or at times in our life we go through this scenario, which is the fear of starting over and the fear of pursuing something new in life, whether that's a new career or a new relationship or moving to a new city, whatever that may be, a new hobby, a new interest. The list is endless. But the fear that sometimes stops us in that pursuit, and why some of those fears arise and some of those anxieties ultimately come up from allowing us to essentially get over those barriers and get over those hurdles. So that's going to be the main focus and the main topic of the show tonight. But I think a big part of the fear of starting something new is, I think it comes from the fact that you have to essentially close a chapter of your life. To begin something new is essentially to end something of the old. So you are putting something in the past, a portion of you that maybe you spent years and time and energy and a lot of maybe money, a lot of your tools at your disposal, maybe a lot of your life went into something that you had planned on being the entirety of your life. But to then close that off, close that chapter to then start something new, that gap, that hurdle can really hold us back. And I think there are several reasons for that. I think the identity portion of it, we get wrapped up in the identity of what we were from the past. We get wrapped up in being known for that thing, having spent all of our time, maybe all of our friends are in those circles, all of our relationships are tied with that thing of the past. So to then stray off into a new lane and potentially leave all those people behind, those friendships, that time, that energy, that money, leave it in the past to hopefully create something new, can be very challenging mentally, and to shift the mindset into, wow, I'm really going to do this. I'm really going to be out here on my own, out in the wilderness, kind of looking around, being lost essentially. And it's kind of the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of the potentially being lost forever, or maybe never finding your way home, that maybe stops us, which is very rational. It's rational to fear the unknown. It's rational to fear the abyss. But there's a quote I like, and it's like, to the one who jumps in the abyss, those who stand and watch have no right to judge. So essentially, if you're willing to go take a leap of faith and try something new, or rebrand yourself, or go in a new direction, start a new career, those standing around you have no right to judge you for being willing to take the step, or take the first step for a new life, in hopes of a new, better, more fulfilling life. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today. I would say probably the first talking point we'll talk about is the myth of wasted time. That's such a huge hurdle into wanting to start something new, is that, especially if you think about probably as a younger person, even me, myself, I'm a younger person, I'm in my mid-20s, I'm 25 years old, but you go through high school, you go through college, and your identity's being built, you're pursuing something, you're pursuing a vision of a career that you think that's going to be your life, that you've picked something in such a young age that you think is going to be the core pillar, the core principle of who you are for the rest of your life. And that's a big deal. That's a big task to figure out. Yeah, I'm going to be this person, I'm going to have this career, and that's gonna be me forever. So you can go through college, you can go through that investment of time and energy and money, and not only your own, but maybe your parents, their time, their energy, their money. And this could be school, this could be a sport. Think about growing up as an athlete. I'll draw from my own personal experience. All of the time and energy and all the money and all the sacrifices and all the traveling that my parents sacrificed for me to pursue a goal of trying to become a professional athlete and live that life, to then it not pan out, it not work out, and feeling that all of that time and energy was wasted. It can be a lot to think about that. But I think you have to try to change your mindset from thinking that it's purely wasted time and energy, that it's something to draw on. There are tons and tons of valuable lessons and tons of valuable experiences that you can draw on from that time and all of those years spent doing that thing. It would be a waste and truly a disservice to look at those chapters of your life or that portion of your life and discredit it because it didn't pan out the way you thought it would to the fullest degree. That would be the biggest discredit, to not take anything from those times and then carry them with you to the new pursuit and the new thing. But like I said, with the parents' energy and the parents' time, that can weigh on a young person, especially when you're going to college and all the money's spent, to then be so involved in what you're doing and that career, but it not feeling right, but you not knowing how to express that, hey, I think this career that I'm in, this career that I spent 4 years studying, all my parents' time and energy, all this debt that I'm going into, it may not be for me. So how do you kind of get over that hurdle to say, all right, whatever, it's now or never. I'm going to start a new career, I'm going to start a new interest, and I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something for me, and I'm going to do something that in the long run will be better for my health, for my happiness, for meaning, for purpose, than playing out this path or this career that I ended up in that wasn't for me. So being able to change, course correct, and into new things is super valuable. But the core and the simplicity of the message is that you can change the career. You can change it at any time, and you can become something new whenever you want. There is no shame in starting something new. There's no shame in being a beginner. I think it's a very honorable thing, and it's a very, you have to overcome a lot of fear to be able to try new things. Example I'll give is, so my whole life I was playing sports, hockey player, and that fizzled out, and I looked at it as a closed chapter. I closed the chapter of that book, and I wasn't going to proceed trying to be a coach or have influence in the world of hockey. And I was in the unknown. I was lost in the forest for some years trying to decide, okay, what am I going to do here? What am I going to be? And really trying to figure yourself out. And that figuring yourself out portion of your life, being lost in the wilderness, you may spend a lot of time there, but having the hope that you can figure out something new and looking around for new interests and trying to find new hobbies and really find what captivates you and what brings purpose and meaning and love to your life is kind of what you're looking for when you're searching in the dark. But even when I was trying new things in the midst of being lost, essentially, one thing I tried was jiu-jitsu, and I was so scared to walk into a gym for the first time. And having spent my whole life being in gyms, normal gyms, whatever, athletic gyms, but to walk into a place where you feel uncomfortable, where you don't know what it looks like. But once you expose yourself to that uncomfort feeling, that uncomfortability, and the more you just walk into the door and you tell yourself, okay, today's the day I'm doing it, whatever, no excuse is going to stop me from walking in those doors today and trying that new thing. That in its own right that's a bigger deal, a way bigger success than you can even imagine. because the more of those that you do in your life, and the more you realize that it's not as scary as you thought it would be, you become more confident and more confident, and the confidence builds and builds and builds. So then truly you can start anything new. You can start any new project. You can do anything that maybe once in your mind you thought, no, this would never be possible for me. For a person like me to go out of my way and walk into a jiu-jitsu gym or come and sit in front of the camera and talk about my life experiences or how I think about the world and my mentality, you can think anything about yourself, but once you start breaking down those barriers and walking through those hurdles, the confidence builds, and you go, it was almost silly. It was almost silly to think that I couldn't do it. And that's kind of, you need to just do it. And it's simple to say like, oh yeah, just do it. But ultimately you can change your career at any time. You can change your path at any time. And it may not feel like you can, because of, oh, maybe I have bills, maybe I have kids, maybe I have all of these things that are stopping you. Those are all the things. Those are all the mental things that you pile on, and you build the category of things that stop you from doing that new thing. The more that you add to those lists, and the more that you spend time thinking about the things that will stop you from pursuing the new interest or the new career, it's going to harm you way more than it will benefit you. So you have to kind of just act. You have to be an actor in this world, instead of just thinking and constantly laying out the entirety of a blueprint. Sometimes maybe you have to get some of the blueprint without it being done in its entirety, and then you have to act, and then you have to take the first step. Because once the first step is in motion, the next step comes easier, and the next step comes easier, and before you know it, you're jogging, and before you know it, you're running, and before you know it, you're sprinting into that new life, into that new career, into that whatever, that purpose-filled life that you once knew you had the potential to live. So it can be scary, it can be frightening to kind of disassociate from the past, or those past times of who you really thought you were, or who you thought you were going to end up to be. But it's never too late. It's never too late. Did I think at 25 years old I was going to sit here in front of a camera and do a show and talk to people about mental health and psychiatry and kind of mentality and how you have to train your own mind? Did I think that's who I was going to be at 25 years old? No, I thought I was going to be in the NHL. I thought I was going to play in the NHL. In all honesty, there was never a doubt in my mind that I wouldn't be in the NHL. But you don't know where your life will take you. You don't know what journeys you'll be sent down, or how you'll be tested in life, or what hardships, what rock bottoms you'll see. But if you can always think that, yeah, no matter how difficult or how many hardships, to recognize that you're just one step away from a new career, or one step away from a purposeful, meaningful life. That's kind of, you need to remind yourself of these things. But the myth of the wasted time, there's no such thing as wasted time. I mean, there is in a sense, but you can always take something. I mean, yes, there's like wasted time, just like sitting and like scrolling, doom scrolling. Yes, there's that wasted time. But if you look at like accumulation of years of time, or if you look at like, say, 10 years, the first 10 years of your life, and then 10 to 20 years old in your life, and then 20 to 30 years old in your life, and you break it into blocks, there will always be benefits and positive messages that you can pull from those chunks of your life. And I think closing chapters in your life is important. I don't think it's the best idea to linger in holding yourself to a past identity just for the sake, because you're scared to become something new. You're more scared of the new version of you, so you'd rather stick to the old version of you and tie yourself down to the past version of you, because that new version of you is scary. We're scared of the unknown. We're scared of our own potential sometimes. Or the saying is, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, which I disagree. The devil you don't know, essentially, who knows how much better that life could be. But all it takes is taking the leap of faith, jumping into the abyss of a changed life. And even there's I think there's a story about this. I don't know many people talk about this. I won't articulate it as well, but before your life truly changes for the better, or before you truly arise and grow into your meaning and purpose, it's not just going to go upwards. It's not going to be an easy trajectory all the way up. It's probably going to be a huge pitfall. You're probably going to end up in rock bottom, and then from there you'll climb your way up, and then you'll ascend to the meaning, purpose-filled life on the other side of the huge hardship. And I think people are scared of what that pit, what that hardship, what that breaking of their identity, breaking down their insecurities, breaking down the potential things, the wasted time, the bad things they're doing in their life. They're scared of dealing with all of that to then see the other side and then transcend into a new life, that they would rather never dip their toes in the water of that huge negative pool of maybe what's there. So they stick to what they know. They stick to their identity of the past. And I think you just have to be willing to change. You just have to say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to live a new life. If you're unhappy with your job, but you're scared of maybe disappointing your parents, or you're scared of maybe living in hard times for some years or for some months, whatever it looks like, you're scared of the stability of maybe your current life, and maybe it won't even work out. It may not even work out. But that's part of the fun. That's part of life. That's part of the mission and the meaning of life, is that not everything you do will work out. Not all the risks and all the chances that you take are going to work out. Similar to me as the first 18 years of my life investing in one sport didn't work out. Does that mean that I would say, like, oh, I wish I didn't invest all that time and energy and all my parents' time and energy and money into that thing? No, because there's no sense in living in regret. There's no sense in taking away from that time to say like it was worthless, because it wasn't, and it isn't. But you need to take the leap. Take the leap of faith into the future. So there's no such thing. There's no such thing as wasted time. There's no such thing. But with identity, I wasn't really going to talk about mental health and psychiatry really today, but I guess I will a little bit, because yesterday I talked about, I'm going to do my little pinky. Yesterday I talked about identity and how important identity is, and how we get, like I said, we get stuck with these identities, or we get told that we have an identity. And in its purest form, it's essentially spellcasting. Being told that you have this diagnosis, and you will carry this diagnosis with you to your grave. Until you die and you're 6 feet under, you'll have this diagnosis of a mentally ill, whatever the mental illness is the highest form of spell casting. And it gets reinforced time after time after time, that every time you open your medical documentation, or every time a doctor looks at your medical documentation, there's that diagnosis of who you are, and it tells them what you have, what your problems are. So that identity, and if you carry it around, and every time you go and you introduce yourself and you tell someone about your hardships or your problems, and you go, oh yeah, I have this diagnosis, this mental illness is what I have, you're just reinforcing it. You're embedding it even deeper into your identity. And I think you cannot do that. I never, ever, ever admit to the diagnosis that I have. I will never agree with it, and I will never, ever succumb to a negative diagnosis put on me that puts me in a category of a less capable human, or a person who is less capable of achieving, or who has these handicaps in life, because that's not the case. I may fit some of the definitions, or I may fit some of the actions, emotions that look like that diagnosis, but the actual word and the identity of it will never hold weight on me, and will never cast a shadow over who I am, because that's not who I am. And I think people in the world of mental health and mental illness need to recognize this message, that they are not, their identity of who they are as a human is not the diagnosis that they are given by a doctor. Their actions, their problems may look the same. That's fine. It's okay to admit that. But to admit the diagnosis, and then to carry that around as your whole life, and identify as, I'm not just Eric Guest, the human being, the regular human being capable of achieving and doing anything in this world, that nothing can stop me. No, I'm Eric Guest, the mentally ill, whatever blank of the diagnosis that a doctor gave me. You cannot allow that to be pressured onto you or projected onto you. It cannot be the case, because it not only consciously are you then agreeing to it, but subconsciously you're allowing to be categorized into a lesser version of yourself, categorized into a problematic person who has these problems, and you're going to dwell on these problems, you're going to think of these problems, the people around you are going to, and this is why it's so troubling, and this is why it's so hard, and why this is going to be such a main mission of mine, to explain this to people and try to get people to recognize what's going on, and why their problems keep coming up, and why they feel depressed, and why they feel like they're not capable. Because not only is the doctor the one who reinforces their diagnosis and who they are, but those around them are then, they're so heavily influenced by that doctor. The doctors are put up on pedestals as the all-knowing. They know everything. They are the end-all be-all of knowledge and wisdom and of your health. So your family members and your friends hear what a doctor tells you what you are, and then they take that message as well, and they reinforce it as well. They are like the minions of the doctor that go and reinforce and drill in the diagnosis even more. So to be able to recognize that this is kind of, and yes, this is kind of like setting the stage that it's you against the world, or it's you against your family, friends, and a doctor. But in many cases, it is. It is. And I'm here to be the bearer of bad news. But the good news is that I'm on your side. That we together can figure this out, why this goes on in the world, and why the mentally ill, the people of mental health, are treated this way, and are projected these images and these spell-casted diagnoses of being so problematic and being mentally ill and being handicapped. We as the team will figure this out and kind of go, okay, we see what's going on here. We see why we're being held down, why we're given these labels that tell us that we're not as capable to do things in this world. So breaking that identity and breaking that mold, and never agreeing to it. Even an example I'll give is, I sat in a room with a doctor the one day. I had obviously my psychiatrist, and they always have like student doctors in, whatever they're called. But he was in there and he was talking to me, and they use basic psychology tricks to try to, it's kind of funny, but they're like, explain some of your good qualities, explain some of the best qualities you have. And it's just like a basic psychology trick. But anyways, this guy, he's doing his little stuff, and he's trying to get me, he's like, oh, what is your diagnosis? So even that, it's like getting you to recognize and getting you to admit what you are, and bend to the system and bend to the diagnosis. And it's never going to happen. It is never going to happen. Over my dead body will I agree with these diagnoses and what the doctors tell me I am. I will tell them what I am. You can see what I am. I'm not going to succumb to a label that puts me in a box or puts me in a category of human being that has been portrayed as the lunatics and the crazies and the less capable throughout all of history. Are we those things? Maybe in our own right. Are we crazy? Are we different? Yes. Do we see the world differently? Do we feel emotions deeper? Yes, we do. Do we see and think the way that most people do? Us diagnosed mentally ill people? No, we probably don't see the world the same. But I don't think it's a negative thing that we do. I think it's an intuitive thing that we know there are many things wrong in the world, but we don't potentially know the best way of communicating, or we know that there are things wrong in our life, and intuitively we know that things are wrong in our life, in the world. And these emotions arise so strongly that it is then breaks the mold of what the normal human is and what a normal human looks like. So then we are then categorized and diagnosed and the finger pointed that this is what you are, to fit, to jam you into something, a belonging of what you should be in this world. And it will never happen. It will never happen. So a little spiel, but the identity of I guess you could say, I mean, that was off topic, but I think that came from yesterday. That was a big topic of yesterday. But the fear of being seen when starting something new, I think is a big portion of it too, is that, for example, starting something like this, for example, to be seen or to really put yourself out in the world, and even how I'm looked, how I set up my studio, and how I want to come across as somewhat professional, and I don't want to jumble my words. I don't want to use a word in the wrong context and it not mean what it's actually supposed to mean. So there's a way that even I fear being seen and taken the wrong way. But ultimately, the more I do this, and this is why I'm so excited to do this show, is because not only in a more stable, grounded mind that I'm in, but when I'm in elevated states or in different states as well, and I do the show, those will come out as well. And I think it'll be very important for people to learn and experience that as well, and see that that's okay to be that as well, and that you don't need to fear or be embarrassed by these other states that are natural human states that come up. They are not to be feared and demonized and diagnosed constantly. But in doing the show, when I get more and more comfortable sitting in front of the camera and talking and telling stories and being myself, and the message or the line that comes to mind is dance like nobody's watching. When that is truly in me or instilled in me with no filter of, hey, don't say that, or hey, you don't want to act a certain way, you don't want to do a certain thing because you don't want to be looked at as crazy. When that completely dissipates, that messaging, that filter is completely abolished, then there will be truly no fear of being seen, and I can truly have even more impact on the people that I'm trying to reach, and the people that can see from me being me to the fullest, and me with the label I have, and them having the same labels, or them going through the same psychiatric experiences. I want to empower them, and they'll be empowered by seeing me, not being ashamed of being me, or not being ashamed of telling the stories and freely dancing like no one's watching. So I think that's a big portion of starting something new, is kind of that fear of being seen, and not only being seen, but being seen in a new light. Because as myself, and I'll always bring back to personal experiences. And I personally, when I thought about doing this show and the Be My Guest series, is I didn't think I would talk about hockey that much, which I will here and there. But when I think about doing the show and talk about being seen, there's a part of me that is frightened that the people who knew me for so many years as the hockey player, as the athlete, to then see the version of me sitting here doing the show and being vulnerable to talk about being in a psychiatric ward or being on medications and these different things, for them to see this version of me that isn't solely wrapped around the identity as the athlete or the hockey player. It's frightening in a sense. It's frightening that there's the potential for them to question, like, oh, kind of, what's this guy's mission, or like, what's he doing this for? But ultimately, it doesn't matter. And that's another part of the gap of stepping into the new career, stepping into the new interest that you'll have, is getting over the fear of the doubters, or getting over the fear of the past people of your life who no amount of explanation, no amount of you explaining to them what your mission is or what you're trying to do, they'll never get it regardless. So don't even waste your time explaining it to them. Don't even try. It's not worth it. And that goes for people closest to you as well. Not only past friends or past relationships, that goes for your inner circle as well sometimes, is even those closest to you, whether you try to explain it, whether you lay out the blueprint, you lay out the vision, you dot the I's and cross the T's, and everything's laid out, the plan is set in front of them, they still won't get it. They still won't understand where you're going. They still won't understand what you're trying to do. So don't waste your effort. I mean, bring them in as much as you can. Give them some light. Give them some understanding so they're not completely out in the dark. But don't waste your time. It's you. It's your vision. It's your mission. And go and chase it and pursue it. There's another saying I'm trying to live by, is don't complain and don't explain. So no need to explain everything you're doing, because the people who get it will get it, and the people who want to be a part of something that you're doing, they'll be a part of it. But I think, let me take a sip of water here. A little sip of water here. And the next thing that's important with trying to kind of go into a new career or a new thing in your life is the momentum. Is momentum you'll build. And it's momentum over perfection, because you can try to perfect something. You can spend all your time, all your energy, all your money to perfect. For this example, for me to perfect my setup, I think I did a pretty good job already. I think the lighting, the layout, everything looks pretty good. The camera quality, the sound quality, I think things look pretty good. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist in that way. I like to try to be perfect with everything, but it's almost more important to get started. It's like you need to attack. It's like in a battle, sometimes it's like catching your opponent off guard. And that's kind of like if you look at doing something new, or a new interest, or a new hobby, or the new career, it's like catch it off guard. Just start without even getting the blueprint set or getting all the plans in line, and like swiftly attack it, that you're already in motion. You're already doing the thing. An object in motion stays in motion type of thing. That you already got the ball rolling. You already got one foot going, next foot going. So it's almost not trying to be so perfect in everything you do, and recognize that in the process, you're not going to be the best. In the process, there's going to be learning curves. There's going to be times that you're sick or you're unhealthy or you don't feel like doing it, and you kind of just got to do it anyways. And a big thing that I had a problem with trying to do this show or trying to do content is I'd post content for years and I'd go and I'd delete it all because I'd get nervous, and I'd go, I don't want people to see that version of me, or I don't want them to look at me and go, what the heck is wrong with him? What's he trying to do? Who does he think he is? And that would eat at me. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't strong enough in who I was. I wasn't grounded enough in who I was and what I wanted to do, that affected me enough that I went and I deleted all the content. And I was like, okay, I went back into hiding. It's like I came out of the cave for a little bit, and I looked around, and I was like, okay, I'm safe out here. And then the first person I saw, he was a hunter with a shotgun, and I ran back in the cave and deleted all the content. But I realized I'm the grizzly bear here, and I'm going to eat the bullets from the shotgun. I'm not going to kill the hunter in this metaphor, but that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is get out, get started, don't worry about perfection. Perfection will come. Or I think part of the fun and part of the joy in life is maybe perfection won't come, but to strive for perfection is kind of the mission, to become as best as we can possibly become, to learn as much as we can learn in the field, to then come as close as possible to perfection and always be raising the bar of what perfection is kind of like the fun. It's kind of the mission. The mission is where the fun is people are always saying, once you get to the finish line, or once you get to your end goal of being rich and being wealthy and having achieved all your goals, you'll look back and wish you were in the process again. So trying to sit and take a second to breathe, take a second to look around and go, this is the fun. Right now, me in this camera, in this moment, this is the fun. This is the mission. Me striving to empower other people from the world of mental health and empower people that have these diagnoses and these labels of mentally ill and how they're looked down upon by the world, to empower them and say, you know what, you're not any lesser of a human being. You're not any less capable of achieving anything you want because of what you went through. In fact, you're actually better off. You're stronger. And it's all about how you change the mentality and you change the mindset around what that is. And you can do it, and you can achieve those things. And that message, and me taking a second right now to go, that is this on the journey to the goals I've set, is you gotta look around and try and say, all right, this is where the fun is. The striving for perfection is where the fun is. So I'm kind of rambling in a sense. When I think about sitting down to do the show, sometimes I pick a couple topics and I ramble. I just ramble. But in rambling comes some good stuff. I think I can be a motivational figure. I got some motivational stories. I got some motivational messages, and I'll be motivating people, my kin, to say, hey, we can do anything. We can do anything. Not only just the mentally ill or the mental health patients of the world, but really anyone. This message is for anyone who sees it and comes across it, that you can do anything. You can do anything. And then I guess the last couple points we'll get into is that it's kind of like almost starting something new can be looked at as like rebirth. It's like to be reborn again it's like the phoenix. Think about yourself as like the phoenix going to ashes and then being reborn again out of the ashes, and out comes the phoenix to fly and tower. That's kind of like the message that I think of, is that when you close one chapter of the book and you lose some identity, and you then rise as the phoenix into the new thing, and you take all that knowledge, you take all that information, that past experience, and you go, okay, now I'm going to blossom as the phoenix into whatever I choose. And you become unstoppable with that kind of mindset and mentality going forward, because there's so much wisdom to pull from. There's so much wisdom if you just sit and you look and you dig around. You take the scalpel and you look around your past experiences. You get the get the headlight on, clink, a little headlight on, you get the scalpel, and you go digging. You go digging, trying to uncover stones, and you're looking in the past. This is what you're doing. You're looking in the past of your life, and you're going, where can I draw knowledge from? Where can I draw inspiration from? Or you're looking for times of pure bliss and pure joy, and look for times of when were you your happiest? When did you feel the most meaning and the most purposeful in your life? Or when were times in your life that when you were doing something, nothing else mattered? That you were truly lost in time? That like time didn't exist. You weren't worried about what tomorrow was going to bring. You weren't worried about your phone. You weren't worried about eating. You were truly engulfed in the moment of what you were doing. Look for those times in the past and go, wow, what was that? And try to take that and recognize it and go, okay, that's what I'm looking for the future, is to be completely lost in the moment, to be completely lost in the now of the present moment. What kind of things were you interested in? What kind of things as a kid, as that childhood of playness and joy and blissfulness before the weight of the world kind of took over? And you have to look for those and try to rejuvenate that childness, that childlike play atmosphere, to then go, okay, that's where my life's going to go. That's going to be my new hobby or my new interest. And then maybe that's like young guys, it's like playing with trucks and dirt or whatever. And then you see like the guys who have like their excavating dump trucks and you play with that. That's whatever you can get lost in time, and you're not thinking about time, you're not thinking about your phone, whatever it is, that's your meaning, that's your purpose, and spend time, invest into that thing. So and it could be anything. It could be anything. Let me I think I have a journal entry about becoming the Phoenix, actually. Let me pull it out. Let's see. Here you go. Oh, kind of cool. I don't know where that came from. But I think we have one about becoming the Phoenix and being reborn again. Okay, here it is. It's not very long. There's only a couple lines, but it says, "The last of this journal, I must die to be reborn again." So that was on November 10th, 2024. So that idea of essentially dying, not in a literal sense, but in a metaphorical sense, that the old version of you has to die in its entirety for the new version of you to be born. That kind of concept, that kind of idea is, I think it's strong, and I think you can die several times in this lifetime. You can truly die many, many times and be reborn again into a new version and a new life. And I guess I'll tell a story here is, so let me find, I didn't think I was going to tell the story, but that reminded me. Let me see if I can find it. There's an article about it on the internet. If I can find it, and then I'll tell the story. So give me 1 second here. Of a night that I died. Okay, here it is. This is kind of funny. So this was the London Free Press. This was funny. I didn't see, when I do these shows and I start talking about things and talking about stories, I never know what's going to come up at the moment. And I guess that's kind of what's cool about being live, is you never know where your mind's going to take you, or you never know what kind of stories will kind of arise as you start talking about different things. But it says, harrowing night in a hospital marked end of local OHL player's hockey dream. Eric Guest knew his 3-year OHL career was over after spending a harrowing night in an Ottawa hotel and hospital. Eric Guest knew his 3-year OHL career was over after spending a harrowing night in a hotel and hospital. In a third online video detailing his major junior hockey experience, the former Kitchener Rangers forward alleges that the team left him alone in the room while suffering through a violent cannabinoid hypermesia syndrome episode and struggling with his mental health. See, this is interesting. So this story, anyways, I don't need to read the article, but I'll tell the story. This is funny because all this stuff that I talked about in these like few videos that I posted, like I don't know when this was. This was like 5 years ago. There's so much more that I can add to them. I guess that's what I'm gonna do anyways. But the harrowing night. But essentially, I view this as like a night that I died, and it was so we were in Ottawa, the nation's capital, and we were going there. We're on one trip of the year. We go and we play in Ottawa, and due to smoking weed, I had this thing called cannabinoid hypermesia syndrome, which is you have like these violent episodes of throwing up, and it's kind of like an allergic reaction to weed, which is like weed is, we can talk about weed another time. But anyways, so this started, I'm throwing up on the bus, and I'm throwing up for hours on the bus, and I'm like trying to hide it. I'm trying to like not make it known. So I'm like hiding in the bathroom or like whatever, throwing up. And then I go and we get to the hotel, and it kind of is like continued on. And I think the team like went out to like eat or like casino or something. I don't know where they went, but I was throwing up still. And in these like cannabinoid hypermesia syndrome experiences or episodes, hot water was like a soothing effect. So I end up like I'm in the shower, and I'm just like, you just have the hot water pouring on you, like boiling water, because I don't know what it is about it, but I've been throwing up for like hours and hours and hours, and I'm dehydrated, and I'm in this like delirious state that I'm like almost like in and out of consciousness. And I remember like calling my parents, and then from that I remember like I'm in the shower, and then the next memory I have is like I'm in the lobby on like a stretcher. So I'm literally like in and out of consciousness because of like such dehydration. And then I spent that night in the hospital in emergency. I didn't even get checked into a room. I spent like 8-9 hours throwing up on the emergency room floor, because another thing that hospitals, if they'll ask you if you're throwing up so violently like this with hypermesia syndrome, they'll ask you if you smoke weed. And if the answer to that is yes, they'll refuse to help you. They won't help you. And the help is simple. It's you get like a liquid IV so you can start getting rehydrated, and some like Haldol. I mean, this isn't professional advice. Anyway, this is just from my experience. But the medication Haldol will suppress those convulsions of like, I don't know if convulsions is the right word, but those aggressive throwing up. The Haldol kind of stops that. But anyways, I spent like 8-9 hours just kind of throwing up on. It's not even throwing up at that point. It's just dry heaving. You're literally just dry heaving because there's nothing left in you. So laying on a floor until my parents showed up. And that night, I view that night and I view that experience as like a death. As like a death of who I was, of an accumulation of my life as a hockey player and an athlete, and then that traumatic experience of like dying in the nation's capital and kind of being taken home. And then the episode of, that's kind of when like mania and psychosis started out of that, and that was like the rock bottom, the depths of hell that kind of happened in this whole experience in this episode. So that's kind of, when I think of that, is like being essentially dying, and then coming out of that on the other side is like a phoenix rising, or something coming out of the other side of that. But the thing with that is that like coming out of rock bottom or coming out of a traumatic experience, it's not like you come out of it and within a month or within days or week, you're just like, bam, you're a new person and you're ready. You've got life figured out. You've got life by the balls and you're ready to go. It's kind of, no, it takes time. It takes time to incorporate those experiences, to reflect on those experiences, to learn from those experiences, and to then grow and then blossom out of whatever those experiences were. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes effort. It doesn't just happen naturally. And out of a lot of my different episodes and hospitalizations, I've come out of them and I'm like, I want the quick, easy fix. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready for a new life. I'm ready for purpose. I'm ready for meaning. I've got a story to tell. I've got this testimony. I'm ready to help people. But it takes time to play out, to figure out where that's going to go, or where your purpose and meaning and ultimately your path in life, where it's going to end up. It doesn't happen instantly. It takes some time. So at times you have to be patient and you have to kind of let it unfold naturally instead of forcing it. So that's kind of something I've learned in the process of everything. So that will be kind of the show for today, or this portion of the show, is that we talked about the fear of starting over, really, and everything that goes into it, and feeling like you wasted all this time, or the identity, the fear of really being seen again and starting something new, and then kind of the rebirth and the leveling up into something new, and the process that goes into being patient and learning and reflecting, and then on the other side of rock bottom, on the other side of hell, you find yourself. So if you think about it in simplest terms, sometimes falling off, or going through miserable times, or ending up in a position that you never thought you would be in life, isn't always the worst thing in life. It's always about the mindset of how you look at it, how you reflect upon things, and how you choose to then move forward in life out of those experiences. So it's never starting from zero when you're starting something new. It's always starting from experience. It's always starting from past knowledge and past wisdom. And I think it's really important to remind yourself of that you're not just starting from zero. You have accumulation of things to draw upon ultimately. So if you can draw upon those things and stay in your mind that you have all this knowledge and wisdom, you can be unstoppable with the right mentality and the right mindset going forward. Truly unstoppable, unbreakable. So we will be unbreakable. We will be unstoppable together. That is, I guess we'll wrap up that segment right there with that. We'll wrap up that segment with that. I was rambling there. That was rambling. Some good stuff in there, though, I think, huh? Some good stuff. But some rambling, to say the least. Nothing wrong with some rambling. Nothing wrong with some rambling. Another thing that I've been thinking about recently is how, yes, I think it's important to, this is like the main pillar of my content, and my show is going to be the Be My Guest, and me coming and doing the live streams and then uploading them on Rumble and YouTube. But there's part of me that's pulling towards, like, you want that fast interactions, that fast track of having a bigger community, or having more people involved. But I'm kind of focused on building the library right now, of building large sects or hours of content, so people, once they finally kind of see the message or see what I'm doing, then there's more for them to kind of discover it and watch and be drawn into. But there's part of me that is tempted to just go on TikTok and go on Instagram and clip up the videos and kind of do that. But I really don't want to. I really don't want to clip videos to put on short form content. I mean, maybe I will at some point, but I don't want to. I think for TikTok though, I think a thing I can do is I can do short videos, but not clip the show, but more of just like a behind the scenes, and you just kind of talk about your life or talk about what's ever going on. But let's go and check out Reddit. Let's go read some stuff. Is the episode today, the Be My Guest episode. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you can gather some knowledge or inspiration from the episode. Feel free to drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscription. Let me know what you think. And until next time, until tomorrow, maybe not. I don't think I'll be up tomorrow, but the day after, I will be back streaming. So, thank you guys for watching. Have a good night.